Welcome to Business Beyond Borders, the go-to podcast for CPA firms seeking transformative insights. I'm your host, Lawrence Whittam, and with each episode we'll uncover key insights, best practices, and invaluable resources tailored for CPAs. From trending strategies to diving deep into outsourcing and offshoring, our experts will help in all areas of your business. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Business Beyond Borders. So I'm here today with Alyssa Dillon from Moneymaker Mastermind, who we actually met at Universal Accounting in person. I've definitely seen some of your stuff on Facebook. I know you're super active. And again, I've seen lots of videos about you, so it's cool getting to know you a little bit there. But Alyssa, it's nice to see you. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Can't wait to jump in and get right into everything we're going to talk about today.
So, and I brought Alyssa on to, again, share a little bit. She's helped thousands of accountants actually get up and moving, actually making some money from getting started. So if you're here and you're sort of just starting to grow your business, and to be honest, a lot of firms that I talk to, they're not doing as much as they could be doing, to be honest, from the marketing perspective. So Alyssa's here to help share some tips and things that she's doing to, again, get you started and get you moving in the right direction to actually start getting some clients on board and really making the right amount of money that you should be. Right. So Alyssa, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we specifically help clients and help our clients, accounting firm owners who have realized that 6 figures is a salary, not a business income, right? They have decided that they are ready for more. They really want more stability in their lives. They want to have more time freedom. They want to build teams, and they're looking for higher level clients. They're looking for those premium clients. And those are the people who tend to be in our audience and that we tend to be helping. I realized from an early stage in my own firm that I didn't want to be broke. I didn't want to work with broke people. I wanted to work with elevated people. And that didn't mean that I wanted to work with fancy people, because I am not fancy. I am a very down home country girl. I come from a small town. There's more cows than people. And I like to touch grass, right? I'm very much down to earth kind of girl. And if you watch any of my content, you'll see that I'm hanging out with cows a lot. I'm outside, I'm camping. I'm a country girl, and I'm not really fancy, but that doesn't mean that I want to be broke. I want to have money. I want to have a big bank account. I want to have money in my Fidelity account. So I think there is something for everyone out there. And a lot of times when we think of premium, we think of elite, we think of people looking fancy, and we think of authority as, it's got to have a gold rim glass and a champagne glass. And I don't necessarily think that's what it looks like for all of us. And so we're just demystifying that idea that authority and that also gets to come with authenticity. Everybody's looking for a mirror. And I hope to be that mirror for the accounting professionals out there that don't want to put on the suit. They don't want to put on the blazer and look a certain way, but they also want to work with the professionals out there that are high end. They're making good money, and they want to take their business serious, but they don't want to look a certain way and be super fancy. So I tend to work with a lot of women and men who are just like me, I guess, what it comes down to.
Well, it's funny that, and again, I think initially seeing some of your stuff and it was more towards, I thought more towards startups, right? People getting into it and stuff. But then when I really actually moved into my consulting side of things as well, it was I tended to see, I was generally working with slightly bigger firms, right? And, but I saw a lot of them, they're actually not necessarily doing great just because of the size of the firm, just because they've got so many employees. And again, they're now looking after their team members very well, but it's also they're not making that good of a profit, or they're not making as much as they should be doing for like the size of the company that they're built in a lot of cases. Now, there are some that are doing very well, right? But and that's where I think a lot of accountants are still underpricing what they're doing and also undervaluing what they're doing and giving away too much in a lot of cases. So can you share maybe some of the challenges you've seen that, again, accountants have, right? And some of the ways that you are personally helping get them over those challenges.
Yeah. So I try not to admit this or talk about it too much, but I think this is a perfect seg to talk about it. It's like I feel as though sometimes I'm really the advisory accountant to accountants. Like if accountants only did a little bit of accountanting, right? It's like, look at your own profit margins. And if you were to advise yourself on your price points, if you were to advise yourself on those revenue streams and look at your own product suite, what would you tell yourself to do? And a lot of times what they tend to do is they tend to come into their business initially and think, well, I was making $30, $35 an hour, or my salary was, 80, 90,000 when I left corporate. And so they're happy to make a little more than that. So they're like, oh, well, I'm making $60 to $70 an hour now. So this is great. Well, they're not realizing that the overhead of growing a company it's not fiscally responsible to not consider the cost of acquisition for a client. Whether you're doing it and it's just boots on the ground, you're ultimately going to start to acquire a cost for that. Yeah. And so it's really realizing that there will be cost of client acquisition at the end of the day, that ultimately you are going to need to hire a bookkeeper, an accountant, a client success manager to help you take care of these clients. You cannot do it all. And that's the biggest challenges that we see with these accountants that are coming into that $100,000 to $250,000 range is you have to start building that team, that infrastructure. And they usually don't have the funds to do it because they're living the lifestyle based on the top line revenue. And so they're making $250,000, but they're living a lifestyle of $250,000 as if all that money's theirs. And really, It's the company's revenue. And so they're not used to saying, they have to kind of reframe like, no, that money actually needs to start going back into the company. You need to bring down your salary. And we need to start investing in the team that you have, so you have the ability to grow and scale in a way that's going to get your time freedom back. But then it looks like we need to do client acquisition again. And so we have to, boots on the ground to go get more clients because maybe the client stream has run out because you've exhausted your friends and family, right?
Yeah. Now, what is it? So when it comes to that, right, again, going out and getting the client acquisition, because there's a lot of firms, and again, the typical way, if you go and ask any accountant how they get their business, they say it comes from referrals, right? That's
word of mouth. Yeah. Word of mouth.
Right? So word of mouth, get referrals. And again, I would say that, yes, there are a big portion of companies that have grown from word of mouth, from referrals. That's been a traditional way. But you also see a lot of firms growing much, much quicker if they do other things because nobody else is doing it, right? And you also get a lot more visibility when you do this other sides of things and other marketing activities, other sales activities. So what are some of those things that accountants can actually do, even from a low budget perspective, or not even from a budget, but also from a mindset shift perspective, right? Not having to do the things that making videos. It makes people uncomfortable sometimes, right? Or doing the higher marketing ticket items, essentially. Like, what are some of those entry level things they can start doing?
Yeah. So the first mindset shift is really like deciding to be a value creator in your space, right? And that's really where I came from. So when I first built my business, when I first decided to be a firm owner, it was the concept of, well, I've never gotten in front of somebody and not gotten hired. So how could I get in front of more people, right? How could I create more value for more people And it was this realization that my phone was a broadcasting network, right? And a lot of people feel really uncomfortable with video and creating video. And it's like, okay, fine. So don't create the video right away. But how could you begin to create value for people in the masses and realize that you have this broadcasting network, you have this news station, this letter that you could write to your ideal clients, and they could be reading it on a consistent basis to see that you are the person that can help them. And I tell my clients all the time, and for all of you listening, it's the realization that they're either not being helped, they don't know where to go, or they're being served by somebody who is not helping them right now, and they need a better solution. And so if you truly believe that you are the best in your industry, if you truly believe that, and you really decided like, you're a big freaking deal, right? And that's so much of what this is deciding I'm a big freaking deal and I need to serve more of my people. And if you don't believe that, like, you shouldn't be doing this, right? And that is like, I'm going to have the audacity to say it. If you don't think you're a big freaking deal, you don't think that, man, I need to serve more people, I have to change my industry, like, you should go get another job. Go get the job then. Because you've got to have a big head. You got to be delusional to think you can do this, because sometimes it is hard. Sometimes it is challenging. And so being delusional, being so full of yourself sometimes that you think you can do it when so many people can't. I mean, when you look at the numbers and you look at how few people succeed in business, you got to be delusional. You got to think, well, I'm going to be that 3% that succeed, right? So,
and the big thing is they see it, right? Because I mean, they're doing the accounts for these companies, right? And they see the ones, how many go under, or how many aren't profitable, and how many aren't actually growing in a lot of cases, right? And you don't need to necessarily keep growing all the time, right? I mean, there's a comfort level, there's a point where you want to get to, though. There's goals in place. Now those goals may shift when you hit those targets, right? But you may also be like, no, I've hit my goal. I'm comfortable now. This is where I want to be, right? In some sense. So it completely varies, but you do have to be out there, right? And especially, like you said, I mean, you want to be the expert in what you're doing. If you truly think you are, that's why you've generally gone into business by yourself, because you've left one of the firms you were an employee of to now build it because you think you can do it better, or you can do it better, right? Yeah. So you've got to share that with people.
Yeah, share it with people and put yourself out there. And it's the decision to say, this is bigger than me, right? I am doing this for these people, right? I'm the value creator, and I'm going to create value for them. So the people around me, my community, my industry gets to be better because of the value I'm creating. And so we have a system we call the 7 magic posts. And the 7 magic posts, the magic part is actually an acronym. Magic stands for My Authenticity Gets Ideal Clients, right? And so the authenticity is like sharing what is authentic to you, what is authentic to your ideal clients. What are they going to resonate with if you shared with them? What is the biggest questions that you get consistently? If you could just shake your clients, if they just realized, if they just knew, right? What could you share today? And the 7 magic posts also has like, how do you engage with your clients? How do you get them to engage with you? People love to talk about themselves. So ask them questions on social media, right? And so it's this series of 7 posts that ultimately help people to see the value that you're creating and see how you can support them in their businesses. And we developed that over the years because it was ultimately what helped me start my business, right? So this concept of showing up every single day to support your niche, support your industry, support your ideal clients by being a value creator is really just the first step. And the objection I get to this all the time, and I'm just going to handle it right now, is, well, Alyssa, I don't have an audience, right? And so, well, no, of course you don't have an audience. And what happens if I dropped 100 followers, I dropped 100 people on your page? What would they see right now? It's like, you have to first load that page with content right?
Yep.
You have to load it with content. So then when the followers start coming in, because SEO and the algorithm starts doing the job of bringing you the followers, there's something for them to consume. The content comes first. It's the chicken before the egg, right? You do not get followers if you don't have content. And so content has to come first. So I'll handle that objection right now. You got to put the content out. The followers is the second piece of this.
I think one of the big things there as well, like just from a mindset perspective, is that if nobody's looking right now, so you can experiment more, you could be more creative, right? Eventually, and again, what's the harm in doing it in terms of if you think that nobody's watching anyway, there's no harm in doing it, right? I mean, but eventually what happens is, like you said, when you're authentic and when you've got the content there and when people start seeing it, people start liking it, people start sharing it, then it does build quite quickly from that perspective, but it takes time, right? I mean, it cannot happen overnight from that. And people, I think the only way that people then see marketing is like, you've got to have that hit trendy thing, like, and it hits and it gets like whatever it's called, it becomes viral in that sense. But it's like
virality.
That's not reality around it, right? So you're very lucky if it does get viral from that perspective. It takes a lot of time to sort of build that. So now what are sort of like the path, like you said about the magic side of things, those 7 steps, right? Now, what journey do you typically see like take firms on? For example, like where do they really start normally when they come into you? Where do they want to get to, right? Or where do you want them to get to, essentially, in a lot of cases as well?
Yeah. So, I think it's really understanding what your goals are with bringing on more clients, right? A lot of people will decide that social media is or is not for them. The reason I decided that social media was for me was, and by the way, I was a total social media skeptic, right? I actually didn't have a Facebook page when I met my husband. And I was so against it that I made him deactivate his page. So for any skeptics out there that are like, oh my gosh, I am not using social media, with you 100%. Totally get your skepticism, totally get how you're feeling. But I realized I didn't have a choice. I was like, well, I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to have to travel to networking events. That sounds terrible. You and I actually talked, Lawrence, at the event, and you're like, are you going to go to this event? Are you going to go to this event? And I was like, no, I have kids. Yeah. Like, I'm not going. I can't do all that. I would rather be home with my kids. My kids play football. My kids, they want to camp. They want to go fishing. I'm not missing out on these days. I'll come into my office. I'll do the work. I'll get on some podcasts. I'll do my social media thing. But guess what? I get to go home tonight. I get to go home in a few hours, right? They have a half day today. So it was the realization that I could do so much more in just a couple of hours on social media with my kids. And so that's why ultimately I realized I'm going to suck it up, buttercup. I'm going to just do it. And so I did. I created a Facebook account for the first time ever, even though I thought it was going to be painstaking, and it wasn't that bad. And my mom called me the first time I ever posted, and she was like, I think you've been hacked, or somebody accidentally posted, or did you accidentally post? And she was mortified for me because she knew how much I hated social media. So that's to just overcome anyone who is like, I don't want to do this. I didn't either. So it's, what's the goal? And are you willing to overcome your own fears, your own beliefs around it to reach the goals? Like, is the goal bigger than all the objections you have for yourself? And then it's, okay, well, who do I want to target online? How can I reach those people? How can I start talking to them consistently? And it's building relationships and deciding to become the authority. And so a lot of that looks like being the authority builder and partnering with people, right? We make sure that we do things like this, right? We're going to share this podcast online. It's not just a matter of going out, posting to post, putting some content out. It's showing our authority by saying, like, we were on this podcast. Here's a clip of it. We're doing this, right? It's It's doing these fun events. It's having this real genuine connection. We create that content, but then we drive them to an offer and we promote our offers. We're getting people to raise their hand, right? So our clients get people to raise their hand and say, hey, yes, I want to work with you. We drive those people to have conversations. So that's the next piece of this. So become the authority online, drive people to conversations. You get them to raise their hand. From conversations, we book calls, right? What I love about this system in marketing online is when you're getting people to build a relationship online, it's like they already know you, right? Yep. And so many people feel as though they know so much about me because of what I've done online. And that's how my clients feel. By the time they get on the call with this potential client, they don't even feel like it's a sales call anymore, right? It becomes a situation where it's really just a formality of like, okay, well, let's just talk about what it looks like to work with you, right? And now that sales call just becomes walking through the steps of, well, what are the next steps? How do we work together? Is the investment right? Right? And so now it's just a matter of getting all of the details out of the way so we can take the next steps to working with each other. I also love this because I never felt as though I was a salesperson, right? I didn't like the feeling of having to sell myself or sell my system. It feels so much easier when you're just saying like, well, you know a lot about me. You know what I do. You want to work with me or not, right? I don't want to have to convince anyone of my value. I want them to get on the call knowing my value. So,
yeah. And it's funny. And I'm a big advocate of it in terms of just, I've done it, right? I've been in that exact situation now in terms of people have heard and they've come to me rather than it. So the conversation completely shifts on that first call from tell me who you are. It's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I've heard a lot about you. Okay, great. Now let's talk about what we actually like, why you're here. You've heard something that has piqued interest. So let's just focus on that, right? So it's, and again, I've got things closed, business closed, specific business closed, and a good amount of revenue just from opportunities that have come from social media. Now, did that come from yesterday's content? No, right? I mean, that came from realistically, like even in my prior position, like I was producing content, I was producing blogs, I was producing these things, but now coming into a different, like now it's people that I've built up on, mainly on LinkedIn. I do a lot more content and stuff, but it's again, people that have seen me and been connected for years. Now it's what I'm doing that's interests them in a lot of cases, right? And now something has come, but it could have taken years for them to actually like get to that stage in some senses, but it's very difficult to say like this is the amount of time it will take as well. I mean, but what are you seeing like when you get involved in a lot of cases with these firms? Like, what should they expect? Like, what timeline should they expect? And again, that could vary based on goals that they have, but what does that look like for you?
So our clients that typically come in and work with us, most of the time, our clients within the first year are adding anywhere from 100K to 500K in revenue in the first year when they plug this system in. And that with a firm, it's so important to realize that sustainability plays a huge role in that, right? So for us, we have to realize that each quarter, there's a different goal, right? There's a different goal to keep in mind. So it could be that Q1, we really actually, we're focused on growth in Q1. Q2 might be, we need to sustain, right? Q2 might need to be focused on putting a team in place to deal with all the work that we just brought in. And so I always look at companies as like a cyclical process. We're growing, we're hiring, and we're firing, right? So we grow a little bit, and then we need to hire to fill the holes, and we need to push people out of the seats that they don't belong. They're really not keeping up with the team. Maybe they don't fit culture-wise, and that's okay. And so this is everything related to your vision and your mission of your company. And so once your company really has a vision, a mission, and core values that have really been built out, you can look at, does this team member really fit my company's values and where we're going and the mission we have? If they don't, it's really good to evaluate those team members on a quarterly basis and say, this person's a good fit. They're going where we want. Or are you consistently looking behind you, having to say, like, are you coming with us? You know what our mission is. You know what our vision is. It's way up there on the top of the mountain. We're all climbing towards that. And so, if they don't have a seat on the bus, on the hypothetical bus here, you got to get rid of them. So it's so important for owners to realize you can only do one thing at a time. And so we really look at those things in like 90-day sprints, right? And I think this helps a lot when you're not trying to, rebuild your team, grow your social media presence, rebuild your offer all at the same time. And I think that so often we think that we're going to do it all at once, and we're not. And so it's such a cyclical process. And so that's why it's easy to say, like, we could do 100 to 500K in 1 year, but you're not going to do 500K in 1 month. And you're definitely not going to do it, or you're not going to do it in 1 quarter, but you're not going to do it in just 1 month typically, because firm owners need to balance, and they need to figure out how to sustain that revenue to ensure that their clients are happy. Right. And so that's a huge piece of what we're working on with our clients, is like, how can we create that sustainability again?
Yeah. And I love that, because it's such a people business at the end of the day. Like, yes, we're driving technology now. There's AI coming into the play that's helping with certain things. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's still very people centric, right? So if those people aren't on board, it's fine to take them out of the picture, right? If they're not following that vision, or they're not really up to again, you've hit one goal, you've hit one metric, and this is where you want to go now, they may not be on track for that as well. Right. So reassessing that is very important. So no, really appreciate it, Alyssa. I'm sure this has been super helpful for everybody listening. I mean, is there anything one last piece of information that you want to share, maybe about a best practice or anything? And then also, where can people find you easiest?
Yeah. So consistency, right? In anything, it's being consistent. It's realizing that you're not always going to, it's just like when you plant seeds, right? You don't know that like the roots are forming. You don't know that those little sprouts are about to bud, and you could have a plant that is about to bloom, but you don't see what's underneath that dirt and soil. And if you stop watering those seeds and you let them dry out and die, you could have just been on the cusp of something amazing. And so it's continuing to water those seeds and realize that harvest season is right around the corner. I think that firm owners tend to always have a season for why they shouldn't, or why they can't, or why it's not, oh, well, it's tax season. Oh, it's summer. Oh, it's this, right? And so they start and then they stop, and then they start and they stop. And so they never see any real traction, because they tend to be the wall of no and the wall of reason of why they can't. And then they wonder why they aren't where they want to be. And the firm owners I see to be the most successful is the ones who realize, this is why I'm going to. This is why I have to right now. This is why I don't have, and I'm not going to have any excuses. And that's why our slogan is make money, not excuses, right? Because we tend to see people be successful when they put all of the excuses behind and they say, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to keep working on this no matter what. So if you really want true results, realize that it's about deciding to enjoy the process, measuring the progress, because the outcomes will always come when you just decide to be persistent and consistent. And so I will leave you with that. If you want to find me, my Facebook group name is probably the best place that you can come hang out with us. It is called Make Money, Not Excuses, 7-Figure Mindset and Marketing Strategies.
Perfect. And I'll vouch for the plant analogy, because you've got multiple plants behind you that people can't see on the podcast, but they're growing all over the office. So clearly you're watering them pretty well. So
yes. Somebody asked me if those were Christmas lights. They're like, wow, do you have a bunch of Christmas lights back there? I said, no, that is a plant that is literally taking over my office.
Yeah, there is a vine going across a whole whiteboard that's on there. Yeah. So for those that can't see, so it's but no, super appreciate it, Alyssa. Very nice to meet you and speak to you again. Really appreciate it. And again, everybody, hope you had a good episode today on Business Beyond Borders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Business Beyond Borders. I'm Lawrence Whittam, and it's been a pleasure bringing you impactful insights tailored for the modern CPA firm. Remember, the world of accounting is vast and ever evolving, and we're here to navigate it together. For more resources and episodes, don't forget to subscribe and reach out to our experts. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of your business and explore the limitless possibilities beyond borders.